we got some real big news. We got big news on Kristi Noem. We got big news on Pete Hegseth. We got big news out of Canada. We may have big news on Mars. We might have big Mars news.
Big Mars news, yes.
Big
about the
Mars
Martians.
need. Yeah.
How you doing,
Could be
Dean?
happening. I'm good, buddy. How are you? Nice to see you. How was your Easter weekend?
You know, it was busy but delightful. I did a lot of work as well. I published a couple of good stories, which I will talk about later on, but it was good. I mean, not probably as good as Donald Trump's, but we'll tell you about that later on because he had a huge weekend of melting down, and we'll tell you about that coming up.
Big bipolar weekend, yeah.
Yes.
He did.
And, you know, just because it's a special day today is Easter Monday. What happened on Easter Monday? Does Jesus Christ resurrect, or does he...
Okay, so I think if I'm following my old evangelical upbringing, on Friday, Good Friday, he was killed, if you believe the fairy tale. And so that's actually Bad Friday. It's totally misnamed.
Yeah.
And then Saturday, not a lot. He went into the cave. They wrapped him in some stuff, goes into the cave. Sunday, I believe he rose from the dead. Again, if you believe in that kind of thing. And presented himself to a couple of guys walking by, and he's like, "Hey, what's up?" And they're like, "Who are you?" And he's like, I'm the Christ." And then he holds up his hands, and they touch his hands, the stigmata, that's where that comes from. And then on Monday, I believe he took that magic carpet ride up to the pearly gates. I think that is how it... Correct us if I'm wrong in the chat, if you know more about evangelicism than I do, which good chance there's a bunch of you out there that are apostate, or maybe people that are still largely in the faith about the Easter long weekend. Yeah, roll that stone. So that was apparently Sunday, rolled the stone, and then again, zoop, up to heaven, where he just kind of ascended. And that was today. So I think that's Easter Monday. And they celebrated at the White House today with, I believe, $55,000 worth of eggs, while poor families in the States were painting potatoes to look like eggs because they can't afford eggs. And then that was also the same time Donald Trump was like, we're going to make this the most religious country in the world. So, yeah, that's what I think happened yesterday.
So because it's an important day, this is an important day, we're also going to do a thing today where, just by pure chance, all the headlines of today's top 5 stories also double as rock band names. So that's kind of just the way it happened. And number 5.
Did you get creative today?
I got a little creative. You know, I was a little bit like, oh, look at these. These all make... So story number 5 is the Pope is dead. Right? Rock band, yeah.
Big news this morning.
Yeah, so, you know, we know the story. I was up really early and was amongst the first people to report this. But, you know, Pope Francis is no longer with us. He has left this earth. He's 88. Yeah, it was a pretty amazing Pope, actually, when you think
oldest
about the
serving Pope, if I'm not mistaken. Right?
Yeah, he started late. You know, they didn't expect him to be around for a very long time because he was so old when he started. And then the first Latin American Pope as well, broke centuries of European tradition in that role. Who knows where the next Pope might come from? Could be from anywhere in the world. And he's also really well regarded, I guess, because of his appointment of a very diverse range of College of Cardinals. You know, the old people will be electing the next Pope in that really weird, smoky ceremony that they do.
It's called Conclave. I don't know if you've seen that movie with Ray Fiennes. Have you seen Conclave?
I've not seen that movie, no, but I know a lot about the Conclave.
Phenomenal, because they ended up bringing in a little-known cardinal who ended up becoming the Pope because he was so full of knowledge. Turns out he had both a uterus and male genitalia, and they had, unbeknownst to them, elected a he/she, someone with a XY chromosome issue, to be the Pope, and Ray Fiennes had to keep that a secret. Boy, that was a great movie, and boy, would I like to see me some of that. But I don't think that that's going to happen in this conclave, but it starts today. They start, you know, the body lays for 7 days. He's been asked to be buried in a different area, not the Vatican, the very first Pope that hasn't been buried in the Vatican, this other church on Vatican grounds, and he wants to be buried in a really low-key crypt and just have Franciscus on his crypt. So this is going out in a nice way, right? He's not lording it over people even in death that he was the Pope, which is kind of nice. But you talked about who's going to become the next Pope. And my friends at Polymarket, my friends at Polymarket have the odds.
Okay, what does Polymarket have to say?
Polymarket says who will be the next Pope, okay? The Italian guy, Pietro Parolin, he's leading with 37%. Luis Tagla. I don't know if I'm saying his name right because I don't know anything about cardinals and popes and stuff like that. He comes in at 23%. Matteo Zuppi at 11%. So the Italians and the Spanish have early leads. And then it goes to like some guy from Czechoslovakia, and then there's some American dude named Peter, uh, and then
I'll,
which
I'll tell you what.
he's already got the name. I don't know why they don't do it.
I've covered
Um,
so many of these things, and I can guarantee you, it's almost none of those people. It's very rarely the person that they have on the top list because there's so much horse trading that goes on between now and the time the smoke appears that you just have to accept. I've done, there's three of them that I've covered already. You just have to, that this is not going to go the way it is expected to go because there's always a dark horse and they're always looking for a compromise, right? They're looking for someone who's not the early front runner because those burn out quickly in those first negotiations. And then it's the people further down the list that become the actual pope, like Francis was as well.
Yeah, let me ask you a couple questions about that. If you've covered these, and you know the dark horse, this isn't like trying to elect when you bring him in a new pope or you vote for a pope. You sit there and you do these ballots until you finally agree, and it could last for days, it could last for weeks. Doesn't know. Like these guys they're sequestered, not allowed to go anywhere, not allowed to talk to anybody, not allowed to, because there's so much influence that wants to go into picking this new guy because these people have leanings as well. They're not just men of the cloth. Some are really liberal, some are not. Some are really hardcore, some are middle of the road. And so world leaders really want the blessing of the Vatican to be able to do certain biddings. And so these are really important elections to decide who gets to lead this church, cult, what have you. And that's the stance, right? That people need to understand is like, hey, this isn't just about electing the guy who's like the most Christ-like. This is about electing a guy who, maybe bringing the church back, maybe bringing the church forward, maybe allowing gay marriage, maybe putting an end to gay marriage or any talk of gay marriage, that kind of stuff. Correct?
Exactly. It's about finding the real compromise, and that's why they go through so many. They go through they can sometimes go through so many. Sometimes it's just an obvious choice, but it's a very complicated process. And all these guys have influence, and they all come from different schools and different traditions in the Catholic Church. So they will, there's a lot of people involved from different parts of the world. Everyone has their say.
Yeah.
And so it's a giant, very confidential lobbying process. Very few people can tell you what happens inside the conclave, but it is a lot of horse trading. And oftentimes the people who are front runners or believed to be front runners end up being, not making it through because they're just their light is shining too brightly in some ways, and so they'll end up being eliminated first.
Well, and the two of the front runners did not like Pope Francis. Apparently, that's what I understood. They opposed him and his revolutionary, which I didn't find very revolutionary. They opposed him going and apologizing to the Canadians and the Indigenous people for murdering Indigenous people over the course of many years. They opposed the whole gay rights thing. They opposed it. So the two front runners are like hardcores, and they're really campaigning hard, from what I understand. But if you want if you want the odds on this, I don't know if it's allowed. I dig that they're doing it. Go to Poly Market. You can put some splash on it. That'd be nice. Well, it's not like I got to be interested in the process somehow. Like I could care less who the guy is. That's the truth.
I mean, I think it's important who he is. I think it's really important that we land up with a pope that's like this last one, is really conciliatory, who really reaches to the edges of the traditional Catholic Church to find his people. Because if we don't have that, we'll end up with a very corrupt enterprise. And the Catholic Church is firstly very international. Obviously, it reaches every part of the world, and it has influence in every part of the world. So, including we saw in the United States that Opus Dei had a big influence in terms of electing Donald Trump. So you got to be really
Pope
conscious.
Francis was not an Opus Dei guy.
No, that's one of the key things. Yeah. And so and you mentioned the gay rights issue with Pope Francis, and I think he was able to do two things. He was able to say, hey, gay rights is okay in some ways. He says, who am I to judge about gay behavior or gay rights, which was a very huge thing for any pope to say, considering the history of the Catholic Church.
Yeah.
But he was also able to be very open and transparent around the child abuse allegations in the Catholic Church. And that is a hell of a thing to balance between, admitting that, there's a lot of Catholic priests doing not such great things in the church. And then I'm also not going to say that gay people are evil. And that was an incredible center line for him to follow. So I'm sure a lot of people were opposed to that, but he landed up being, he was elected, remember, while the previous pope was still the pope. And, that pope, I heard many rumors, was gay, had a gay lover. And so, if he had a gay lover.
I'm going to step out on a limb here and say, more than just that Pope. I'm going to say there's been several popes and several cardinals who love to taste the forbidden fruit and they just get overcome with it. And so they have to do something about it. And got good for the last pope, not this guy. I can't remember his name, the German dude, right?
Pope. I just lost it. I was
Yeah,
listening
whatever.
to
Pope German guy.
Benedict.
Yeah. So, you know, getting into that whole conversation, which we don't have to on the day that the Pope died, because he was very much against, you know, the hypocrisy in the church, and you know the people that were men of the cloth that took advantage. Like, he really tried to root out the pedophilia. He really tried to deal with hypocrisy in the church, which I thought was kind of nice. But you know, I'm like, I really don't believe in any of it. So to me, this is just head dressing for another movement, and you're just going to get another guy for the movement who's going to uphold these arcane values and virtues of this church. And I will say this, you know, even though I didn't believe in anything that had to do with the Catholic Church or the Pope being, I had no reverence for the dude. I'll tell you what I did revere: the fact that guy every year used to wash people's feet. The fact that guy really tried to help the marginalized. The fact that guy really tried to push back against Trumpism, really tried to push back against the war, really tried to bring peace to spaces that were very not peaceful whatsoever. So, you know, as a human being, I think he did some incredible things and really tried to open up this old, weird group to being more of the world and in the world. And for that, I think he deserves a ton of credit, because it's not something that was readily available, specifically through the papacy, like, ever. So I think he's going to go down as a great man in history. That's what I think.
Yeah, and he died and in the guest house. He didn't even stay in the typical Vatican mansion where the Pope normally resides. Yeah. He lived in very, very simple conditions. That was his philosophy. That was his policy, and he carried that through in everything he did in his life. So, you know, a truly remarkable man just because of his principles and beliefs. And he'll be missed, I think, by the Catholic Church. And hopefully the next one is equally as open to modernizing the church in the way that Francis was.
Can I just bring up a quick aside here on the whole Pope dying thing? So Easter Sunday, dude's riding around in the Pope mobile. After 5 weeks, he had respiratory failure. He almost died a couple times. He comes back, makes this incredible health comeback, and he gets in the Pope mobile. And to me, it was like this last tour, right? So he gets in the Pope mobile and he's doing Easter Sunday with everybody. Died like the next morning at 7:35 local time in Rome. And the last head of state, I don't know if you know this, to visit, do you know who it is? The last head of state to visit with him was J.D. Vance.
No, it's not a head of state. He was the deputy head of state. But yes, yes, absolutely.
He took a picture with him, and that was the last head of state.
Yeah, of course. Everyone's saying.
But the great part was, prior to his death, J.D. Vance requested a specific audience with the Pope, and he's like, nah, go F your couch. He said, go bleep your couch. You're going to meet with like my second or third in command, and he's going to tell you how this works. And apparently, the second in command of the Catholic Church, no idea who it is, excoriated J.D. Vance for the way America is treating migrants, treating human beings, treating the free world, and treating its allies, and dressed him down, and specifically told him the Pope is refusing to meet with you because he doesn't believe.
But didn't they
you're
meet?
actually
They met.
Well, they shook hands.
They shook hands.
And the picture's like
the guy was on his deathbed.
Doesn't look great. Yeah,
no,
I mean, doesn't look great. And he's like, yeah. And the look on the Pope's face is like, get the fuck out of here, dude.
Remember,
it was awesome.
Remember the Pope pictures with Donald Trump and family when they first went to the Vatican, and how it looked like this, you know, like the Addams family. It was so weird. Yeah, exactly. The number 4 story on our top 5 countdown of the biggest news stories of the day is Pete Hegseth and the Signal chat. It's good, eh?
Oh,
good for rock band.
Yeah.
Pete Hegseth and pay attention, Dean.
Too creative for me.
Had to do it.
Yeah, I like
so, you know, lo and behold, there's another Signal chat controversy, and this time
it's way worse.
It's way worse, but it's also the same. Hegseth is probably on his way out. That's what everyone is saying. I mean, clearly the White House has begun a search for Hegseth's replacement. Not too late. I mean,
that was an announcement today that Donald Trump lied and said wasn't an announcement. And then every major news service is like, yeah, Pete's on his way out probably. So there you go.
And Pete looked like he was on his way out of the Easter egg roll this morning. He looked a little bit.
His face. Did you see that? He's at the Easter egg hunt, and they're like, hey, we've got more information that you included your wife. your brother and your lawyer in a Signal chat, and you were sending emojis with like explosions to him, saying the F-18s are in the air, we're bombing the shit
Amazing.
right now. He's like
He has a
pimping
calendar.
his. And they ask him about it, and he's like, "People are just out to get me. This is about my family." And then he pointed to his family, and they all had fucking hostage face, like his
Look horrified. The kids looked horrified. I was like, these poor kids. Somebody needs to get like protective services for them, because it's not like they don't. I mean, that they looked mortified. It was torture. And he's busy blaming the press for being for publishing this
It's your
stuff. And I'm like,
fault. It's the radical left's fault. Thanks, Kat.
you used a Signal chat again, and also your four. I think your four key people in your office have just been fired for potentially leaking, or he called them leakers today. He outed them as the leakers, even though no one else is.
They're called whistleblowers, actually, in real life. They're not called leakers. Like, he's got it all mixed up. And it was the guy that was in charge of the Pentagon staff, Uliot, I think is his last name. He makes a comment today too, and it was right after his kids, who all have like Stockholm syndrome, right? They're like, you know what their faces said. His kids' faces. Listen, I read the comment right after I watched him introduce his kids that all have like hostage face, and his kids' faces said to me, "We know the guy's a dick. Like, we live with him.
Yeah,
he's a drunk dick. Like, we know. He was probably doing it when he was hammered. Like, their faces were like, oh my God. Like, it's almost like they know they're caught up in some kind of crazy espionage right now." And so Uliot, the former chief of staff, and I think I get his name right, he's now singing like a bird. He's like, it's chaos over there. They have no idea what's going on. Pete Hegseth has no idea what he's doing. The entire military establishment hates the guy, hates him. He is so unprofessional. He's such a loser. The faster we get rid of him and the faster we get rid of Trump, the better America's going to be. It was brilliantly funny.
Yeah, there was an op-ed by his former press secretary in Politico today that said it's hard to see Defense Secretary Hegseth remaining in his role for much longer. The last month has been a full-blown meltdown at the Pentagon. Wow, from former press secretary. And it's becoming a real problem for the administration. Yeah, no kidding. It is a real problem. I mean, this is a very important kind of serious, not kind of, this is a very serious position. It's not one of these positions which is like, ceremonial, or, just do some stuff. It doesn't really matter. This is the entire military infrastructure of the United States. It's about every bit of defense, every bit of, cybersecurity, all the stuff that we deal with on a daily basis, plus planning for potential future war. All these things are in this crazy man's, incompetent hands, and he needs to go, obviously, and people are recognizing that. And hopefully he'll go soon. But, that's story number 4. Unless you want to say something else about Pete Hegseth.
I do want to say one more thing. I do want to say one more thing. For all the people watching and listening, the Schadenfreude is very thick with me today, because I'm really enjoying this. Is one of the apparently in one of the Signal chats, he sends his wife this like kaboom emoji. It's like, honey, we're bombing the shit out of these Houthis that are praying in the middle of a field. You'd be so proud of me. And she's like, I am, honey. I'm so proud of you, right?
Oh,
I'm so proud of you. This
is the former Fox News producer that he's married to, that he invited to a couple of meetings with world leaders, because hey, come on over, come meet these world leaders. It's classified information being shared all the time, confidential meetings.
You can call the people back at Fox. You can tell them all about it.
Exactly.
You'll love it.
You're a journalist. That's so what. That's okay. We'll let you in. Number 3, Kristi Noem and the purse snatchers.
Oh, good one.
Good one.
How's it going? Purse snatchers. I like it.
Yeah.
Kristi Noem. Yeah. She's the what is she? The Homeland Secretary.
She's the Homeland Secretary. She had a terrible weekend. She was out there having a dinner at a DC restaurant, and was subject to a heist, like an armed robbery, where her passport, her access badge to the Department of Homeland Security, her apartment keys, her bag, and another bag, her makeup bag, and also $3,000 in cash was stolen by a masked man at this restaurant. It's a lot of money, $3,000. You might ask, well, where was Secret Service? Well, she let them off for the night because she wanted some privacy.
Having an affair.
She wanted to have some privacy. So, I mean, it might be that she was having an affair. Who knows? But I guess they'll be investigating that and figuring it out, along with the $3,000 in cash. Now, I don't understand the $3,000 in cash. I do. I think you've got a theory about it. Yeah, but who carries 3,000? By the way, the
people that love cocaine, Zev. People who love drugs, and people who want to spend money and not have it tracked back to them. That's why.
$3,000 worth of,
Yeah.
I mean, that's like
nice DC hotels, probably $1,500 a month. You want to splash out for dinner, that's maybe $5.
oh,
You
you the
get
whole night.
Oh,
Oh, I
maybe. Yeah. And
see.
then the
Oh,
dime
okay.
bag's probably 500 if you want like an 8-ball. I don't know how
Mm,
much an 8-ball costs. I've never bought
mm,
one. That's the truth. I'm just kind of
mm.
spitballing. So maybe someone who's bought an 8-ball
Yeah.
can feed into this, let me know how
Yeah.
much it is.
That's
But
no.
we're approaching $3,000 cash right there. And here's the other part of this that I find
So you
interesting.
think she was having a night, like a crazy night out with somebody, not her family? Because the official reason is that she was with her family members and they were going to have a big weekend and then they had a lot of events that they needed to attend to. And that's why she had $3,000 in cash because her credit card wasn't working
Yeah.
or
Oh,
something.
of course. Yeah. Why would it?
Because your family outing, you know.
You know what amazes me about
Yeah.
these mega knobs, like these excuses? It's almost like they're talking to people that don't know what they're all about. Like it's almost like I know what a woman of her age and her responsibility, who's had multiple affairs, including one with Corey Lewandowski. There have been multiple reports. I know, and I know for a fact that half of this Trump administration are cocaine monkeys. Like I know half of them are. I know Matt Gaetz is, even though he's not involved. Well known. I know Matt Gaetz is. Corey Lewandowski was. The drugs that get put into the system by the White House doctor right now.
Remember that?
Like
Remember that?
Xanax,
Oh my God.
cocaine, heroin, meth. Like it's truly like these are the worst people of the worst people, and they have no limits, and they've got all kinds of money, and they've got all kinds of immunity. So, what do you think Kristi Noem was doing with $3,000 in her wallet? You think she was using it to tip people that night? You think the fact that her credit cards conveniently weren't working?
No, that's my addition. That's my additional
Oh,
thing.
okay.
I was commenting about the fact that why couldn't she use her credit cards to take her family members to wherever she was taking.
Generally, you do, right?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I went to a
card.
Jays game this weekend,
Yeah.
Sunday. You know what I
Yeah.
didn't go with? $1 in cash.
Yeah.
I went with a card. I went with
Yeah.
my phone. I paid for tickets with it. I tapped. I was walking around. I
Yeah.
felt like the cock of the
You don't
walk.
need cash.
Because I
You
don't
don't
take
need
cash
cash.
anywhere. No. And I'm older than Kristi Noem.
Yeah.
I should have cash. It's amazing to me that she's expecting people to believe this story. And what amazes me more is that these stories are not unlike every other story they try to tell you when they get caught doing dumb shit. And the other part of this, let's button it up, is no Secret Service. She gave him the fucking night off.
You don't do that. That's the whole
You
point
know-
behind the Secret Service.
The head of Department of Homeland Security. Like Dan Bongino has
Yeah.
20 guys with him all the time because he's such a pussy. Kristi Noem doesn't do anything unless she's surrounded by a cacophony of men. There you go, that have guns. And this is the one night where she had $3,000 in cash, her passport, her fucking pass to the White House, her pass to the Capitol building, and there's no Secret Service, really.
And that really is stupid in itself because, quite honestly, the Secret Service are very good at keeping the secrets. I mean, that's how presidents and other officials have, for many years, gotten away with affairs and all sorts of other activities because the Secret Service keeps your secrets. You know, they're there for that. So they would have cleaned up whatever mess would have happened quite quickly. But because she didn't even have them there, she's like exposed to this, this big crime. She's got $3,000 stolen from her, and she didn't even have the right cleanup crew there because she was giving them a night off because she wanted privacy. Meanwhile, that's what they're there for, is to clean up after all these things, amongst other things.
Color me this. Let me ask you a question. What are the chances that she was robbed in a hotel room having that dalliance? And
you mean not at a restaurant?
Yeah. I mean, there's no confirmation she was actually in the restaurant. And this story is so crazy and the excuse is so crazy. It would have to come on the heels of her doing something terribly wrong. Getting caught doing something terribly wrong. Right?
Yeah, probably terribly wrong. It must be awfully wrong. I mean, we're not nearly.
Wonder if she got honeypotted or
story.
catfished by like an agent from another country. That'd be so cool if that was the case.
It could be. I mean, a lot of people might not be very supportive of her handling. I mean, a lot of people in the Pentagon are not very supportive of Hegseth. That's why a lot of this is happening. A lot of people at Homeland Security might not be so happy, or at Secret Service, or the intelligence agencies might not be very happy with Kristi Noem's performance as Homeland Security czar. So, I wouldn't put anything past anyone at this point. And yeah, it's probably a setup. My guess is that this was not an accidental, oh my God, I'm bumping into you and let's take your bag. They knew what they were going for. They found her. They knew that they could do this with her, and they knew that she'd have a terrible
You should not be able to get within three meters of the head of the Department of Homeland Security. Never mind be able to lift her entire purse, $3,000 and all of her personal effects without her knowing it. Fuck.
It must be so bad that she doesn't even want the Secret Service to know, which is kind of like, whoa, how bad could that be? I mean, because
Not good.
yeah, rather just tell the Secret Service to hold your $3,000 for you because you're gonna buy drugs.
Well, and they would too, right? You're like, hey,
Of
listen,
course they
just hold
would.
this,
That's their
just hold this,
job.
because I got to buy a bunch of cocaine this evening.
Please,
and
how
I
much
need
how
your
much
help.
cocaine moves with Don Trump Jr. every time he moves? I mean, it's like must be like truckloads.
Yeah.
And he gets Secret Service protection too. So there you go.
Wow.
The number two story. So this is great. I mean, can you imagine the weekend for Donald Trump because he gets the email, the message about Pete Hegseth being, exposed in another Signal chat. He gets a message about Kristi Noem having this incredible theft, and then he finds out as well. We all find out about how much money he raised in in his inauguration. Remember the inauguration that never happened? The everything was shut down in DC. There was
Mhm.
barely anything happened. There was all turned indoors. They did a thing inside an arena instead of
Yeah.
doing the normal thing. Well, for that event, every year the inauguration gets a fund, a committee, and a fund, and they get a lot of money donated to them for putting up that event. And this time, President Donald Trump's inaugural committee raised a staggering $239 million. That's way, 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 way more than the last time we had a big amount, which is $107 million, which was also him in 2017. So, the kinds of people that donated to Donald Trump's inauguration fund are quite telling. This is really telling because
You got the list there?
yeah, I've got the list here.
Oh, nice.
There's a company called Pilgrim's Pride. You never heard of them. There's a company called, let me get you the best one here. Sorry, I got to just do. I think it's Pilgrim's Pride that I'm looking for. Yes. So there's a Brazilian meat conglomerate named JBS, which gave $5 million. Have you ever heard of them?
No.
I've never heard of them. Apparently, they're involved in some sort of like sweatshop situation in Haiti where they're, killing people while trying to raise meat in various ways, and they're trying to get out of their trouble. So they paid, Donald Trump $5 million for this little exercise. There was a lot from various big tech companies. Google gave them $1 million. Meta gave them $1 million. Basically, all the big ones: Amazon, OpenAI. Microsoft, each gave them $1 million. It's ridiculous. I mean, ridiculous amount of money for an inauguration that never happened. And lo and behold, there were also cryptocurrency companies. Imagine that. The second biggest is Ripple Labs. They gave him $4.9 million. And Robinhood contributed $2 million to his fund. Ostensibly, it's because they are trying to, give him a good inauguration and to fund that big inauguration event. But actually, as it turns out, it's probably a little bit more about the corruption inside the Trump
No
administration.
way.
That's my guess. That's my educated guess.
There was a story that came out today that Senator Chris Murphy was on like 10 days ago.
Mm.
And the story was about how Donald Trump had this straight pipe into his crypto account where oligarchs, world leaders, other business people around the world, tech guys could send crypto to him without anybody knowing through that World Liberty Group that he actually owns with his family.
Yeah.
Now, apparently, they're using this as a tribute to accept bribes from other countries, other people, other businesses. That's all his inauguration fund was. That was a tribute. That was a loyalty tribute. That was fiat money, though. That was cash. That wasn't crypto. The guy from Binance who's looking for a pardon for his 4 months in prison for defrauding people out of billions, paid a $4 billion fine, CZ. He gave Donald Trump $75 million to help with his crypto investment. You've got all kinds of companies that are feeding into him, but now he's got this straight pipe. So the inauguration, you knew it was a joke. You knew these were bribes, but these are cash bribes. He's also interested in digital token bribes. And when Senator Chris Murphy announced that on the 10th, it went largely, under the radar. Now it's big news because they're saying this is not, when I say they, I mean like the SEC, Security and Exchange Commission, people that understand what he's doing, people that know how to track crypto, people that know that Donald Trump is in it for the bribe. And that's why he's tariffed all these countries, including us, is his expectation is not that he wants to do trade deals. He didn't give a shit about the trade deals. He wants people to come to him so he can personally give them the account number where they can rifle some bribes into his crypto account. where he can say, how serious are you about doing business with me? Because if you're really serious, you're going to enrich me and my family. And here's the price tag. I'll take the tariffs off. Now, the interesting part is Japan showed up this weekend. I don't know if you read that news. And they tried to negotiate some type of trade deal with him. And the head envoy, the trade envoy from Japan, not only got off from the table halfway through and was like, you guys are just trying to extort us to get us to give you money. You get us to give you money. You're not trying to get a trade deal done because not only do you not have any idea what you're doing, you haven't put one concrete plan forward to solve whatever trade dispute we might have with you. So we're going to get up from the table and leave. And then shortly thereafter, a spokesperson said the same thing. He's like, listen, Japan will do business with anybody that wants to do good business. This isn't business. Donald Trump is trying to extort the Japanese people, and we don't play that game. And so I found it very interesting when you start talking about all the different funnels he's got of people being able to pay tributes to him. That is exactly what Donald Trump is all about. He is a con man. He is a spokesperson. He is someone that gets people to pay him for his pleasure, pay him for his time. And that's all he's been doing. He hasn't been doing anything else. That's why he holds court there. He tried to extort Zelensky. He tried to extort Giorgia Meloni. He tried to extort every single leader when they came to town, and they all said the same thing. Dude, what is this all about? You want us just to hand you money for the pleasure of doing business with you? And that's what the tariffs are, generally speaking, as well. They're leveraged to get people to give him, his family, money, and he's willing to drive the United States economy into the toilet over the whole thing, which I find fascinating when you put all those pieces of that puzzle together.
He's shaking down the world, basically, for, he's a mobster shaking down the world for whatever they'll give him. And, the direct quote from the Japanese prime minister was, if Japan concedes everything, we won't be able to secure our national interest. And then they're saying, this is untenable. There's not much we could do here to actually agree to all these things. We're 12 days into this tariff process or this tariff pause. There are no deals done. 12 days in, there are no deals done.
Zero.
There aren't even indications of deals being done. So they're not even close to doing deals. And, the market's they tanked another 1,000 points today because, there's, there are no deals and people can sort of see that the emperor has no clothes. This thing is falling apart. But the most dangerous thing that's happening right now is that Donald Trump has basically decided that in his wisdom, he's going to try isolate China in all these negotiations by threatening all these countries that if they do business with China, then they won't be doing business with the United States. Well, China's response is pretty vocal, and they're saying, if you do that, we're going to do that. We're going to reciprocate on that. And now it looks like the EU, the entire European Union, might be cutting a deal with China and excluding America from that deal. And that is the subtext of what is going on right now. Now, I happen to think this is part of what they're doing. This is their intention in killing America's economy. This is what they want to do. But regardless of whether it's intentional or not, the result is the same. They are busy destroying these centuries-old trading agreements with the European Union, with Canada, with all their allies, and they're handing it over to the Chinese, the most autocratic nation on the planet. And and it's working like the Chinese are heroes. Like they're gonna leap in and save the day because they can. But in truth, everything that Donald Trump is doing is playing right into China's hands. And this is the terrible thing about this process, that America still is treating this guy as some sort of legitimate leader, as some sort of, as a real president. He is not a real president. He's there to assassinate America. He's there to basically destroy America. And he's doing it through this policy that he's got right now. And honestly, can you imagine the European Union making a deal with China and excluding America? What that will do financially is stunning. And you see it as well, the amount of dollars that are being sold. The US dollar is being sold everywhere around the world right now. It's this is no longer the currency. Next month, in June, there'll be 44 new nations who are going to the BRICS conference, and they are going to include Vietnam as the latest edition, the first person that Trump sort of dissed in their negotiations. And so you're going to have 44 nations that are saying they're interested in joining BRICS in June.
Which is run by Russia. It's a joke. It's a monetary bully platform. It is, to your point, it plays right into and it's funny because when you mention it like that, you kind of it gives me pause for thought. Like that might be why he's doing this. Maybe he's helping Putin. Maybe he's helping India.
Sure.
Maybe he's helping China. Maybe he's doing this on purpose. Maybe he's willing to destroy America's wealth and standing in the world just so he can drive all those countries into BRICS and destroy the U.S. economy and destroy the global reserve. Maybe that's why he's doing it. But to your point, the fascinating part it always, it always comes back to this, is that you can talk to any economist at this point, and you can ask him questions about what Trump's doing, and they all just shake their heads and go, now the default answer, and I heard it from a guy named Mark Kelly today. He's like, he's just a Russian asset. That's
Well,
all he is.
that's what you got to
And
keep in mind. You have to keep
and
that in, like, center of everything that you do when you're
that's it.
dealing with Trump, is that he
Yep.
is a Russian asset. And that's
And
why
an
he's doing
asset to all the
everything.
relationships that Russia
Yeah.
has.
Yeah.
But to your point, something happened this month with China and Canada, which blew me away, because I don't know how to feel about it. I know we got to sell our oil. I know we need to keep our economy going. I know we need to keep oil prices at a certain place. Canada is an oil-rich superpower when it comes to
Mm.
being able to get bitumen out of the ground. We got the second biggest oil reserves in the world that are largely untapped. We just surpassed the United States for the first time ever as the number one exporter of oil and energy to China. So we've really replaced, and for the first time ever, I don't know the number, but this last month was the first time in Canada's history we surpassed oil exports, not the United States, to
Really?
China.
This is Canada, of course, yeah.
And we're basically their oil cuck now. So
Mm.
it's another thing that nobody's talking about, is who's going to buy their oil, because China's not, right?
No one's going to buy
China's
anything
not buying it.
from a Trump America. I mean, this is becoming the reality. There are going to be no trade deals. We're going to get to 90 days, and there won't be any trade deals because no one wants to do this deal. But what will be the result is that the US dollar will be devalued throughout this process. The US dollar will no longer be the reserve currency of choice. And he can say what he wants about Powell and all these other things that he wants. He's driving the economy into the toilet, and then he's destroying the US dollar as a reserve currency of choice around the world. And that is going to have impact. You know what that does? That sets up crypto. So back to our conversation about who's bribing him at the inauguration with the $5 million. Well, crypto is bribing him. So he gets to have crypto. He'll become very rich out of crypto because crypto will replace the US dollar, and boom, he becomes, the billionaire that he's always wanted. All his oligarchs get to be rich and powerful, and everybody else loses in this arrangement. That is basically it.
So I completely agree with you. I think that's exactly what's happening here. We've talked about it. Guys like you, Dave Troy, have been saying the same thing for a long time, and now you see all of these things lining up, like the destruction of the dollar. Getting into bed with people and companies and countries that are only about crypto, that are about decentralizing the economy. But interesting, because when it comes to these tariffs, and we'll put a button on this and get to number one in just a second. But when it comes to these tariffs, it's why it doesn't make any sense, right? You're seeing why it doesn't make any sense, because the goal here is for Donald Trump to replace the Fed. He wants crypto, and that's why world liberty is what it is, and that's why he's working with these crypto guys, and that's why he's so bullish on something that in his first term he was like, I got to tell you, I don't even understand it. Well, no shit, you don't understand it. Nobody really understood it because it was a rug. It's just a joke. It's just like, hey, this is worth money because we're telling you it is, and there's very little of it. And now he's all in. He wanted to destroy the crypto markets at first. Now he's like, he'll even say this in his speeches when he's talking about his fund. He's like, I don't get it, but it's awesome. I make a lot of money at it, right? It's gonna be great. And who made the most money in crypto out of any politician over the past couple of years? Donald Trump. Donald Trump, with his coin and the Melania coin, I believe between he and Melania, they made something like $34 billion in like a weekend.
Well, that was the value of it at the end, but I think he alone made 109 million just on the trade, because he got commission of all the trade. 109 million dollars.
Oh, he got fees.
Yeah,
he got fees like transaction.
So
fees,
I mean, it's just crazy when you think about it. The other thing that's always struck me over the weekend is you got all these Republicans that are so supportive of this guy and so like beholden to him, and yet these are what he's also doing in this process is destroying American ingenuity and America's capitalism and America's drive and the human spirit of America. Because when everything's a cheat, in Donald Trump's world, everything's a cheat. So, if you're if you can get away with making yourself a billionaire just by lying and cheating your way there, great, you can be a billionaire. But what that does is to every single other person who doesn't cheat, who just wants to like work on the merits and just get their bit of success from the working hard or developing something or inventing something, it completely robs the entire nation of that American dream that has become, the golden standard of what the world is trying to achieve. And the cost of that to America is insurmountable. I mean, for people to no longer have that sort of drive to be innovative, then drive to be a capitalist free agent where you can, and no matter who you are, you have the ability to create the life you want to achieve just because you're born in the United States or you're an American citizen. That is taking that out of the world completely, taking it out of America completely. And what will that cost us? How many inventions, how many just ideas is that going to cost us that could save the world down the line? How much research is that going to cost us? How much scientific discovery? How much brilliance is that going to cost us? Because everyone's great ideas are not going to get to surface anymore. We're just going to be in this soulless world where greed is the only thing that matters, and your tribute to your boss, or your tribute to your leader, or your corruption fees that you're paying for his inauguration event, that's what matters. That's the only way that gets you through. The rest of it means nothing. And what does that do to the world? I mean, think about.
Well, I think when you find out the game is rigged, you kind of give up.
Yeah.
Right. And the game is being rigged in front of you. The game, to a large extent, has been rigged for a long period of time. Listen, the people that are telling you that America is the greatest country in the world are the people that got really, really wealthy off of fake money, that got really wealthy off of pump and dumps, that got really wealthy off of lying to you, that got really wealthy off of taking money from foreign countries and entities so they could bypass the hard work part of the American dream. Right? Like that's that. And so when you're one of those people that puts in an 18-hour day, and a video that comes to mind was this gentleman, he was crying and he's working this labor job and he's making not enough money to feed himself or his family. And he turned his camera on and he just was bawling. Big guy, big burly dude in a beard. He's like, I can't do this anymore. I'm watching all these people around me get rich. I work 12 hours a day and I can't even afford rent for my family, diapers for my child. And he was bawling his eyes out. That's what you're talking about. Because those jobs are going to go by the wayside with automation and Bitcoin and crypto. And hardworking people are currently being marginalized. Like in the United States, minimum wage hasn't surpassed $7.50 in 28 years. 28 years. There's a reason that they're doing that to Americans. And that reason is so all the other cats can make all the money and they can keep you broken in servitude. There's a reason eggs are expensive and they're not bringing the price of eggs down. It's to keep you hungry and to make sure that but here's the encouraging part. Is that for the first time in a long time, and I don't know if you watched many of these rallies this last weekend, I was so encouraged by them. They were bigger, millions of people showing up to the 50 for 51. I think they called those rallies, or the hands-off rallies.
50-50, yeah.
50-50, pardon me. And people are starting to feel it. But because of the way that the economy works and some of the announcements and the tariffs over the past little, you're not going to really be destitute until June or July. You're not going to really feel the pinch. Like as mad as you are now, America, you're not going to feel the pinch until these tariffs really start to bite. And going back to what you're saying about these countries that want to do deals with the United States, which Donald Trump and that ditz that he has stand up, Caroline Levitt, talking about our phones ringing off the hook. I got 75 people lined up waiting to make deals right now, trying to create the sense of urgency, which is it's what stupid deal makers do.
Yeah.
When they don't have a deal
You're not
to make.
selling condos here.
Yeah. It's just a load of shit.
Yeah.
But there is, outside of Japan showing up and then walking away from the table going, you guys are fucked. Not one country has called. Not one country is asking for a deal with Donald Trump. And do you know why? Because they know he's a criminal. They know that he's trying to extort everybody now. Like the gig's up. I talked to someone with the Canadian government who's like, we're not having anything to do with this prick until after the election. And if we win, and by the way, April 28th, checked advanced polls here in Canada, it's democracy versus authoritarianism. You want Donald Trump to come up here, you're going to vote for Pierre Poilievre because he'll make it real easy. He's Maple MAGA through and through, just a carbon copy with dumber glasses. So in the big scheme of things, he's got nothing. And he's lying to you when he says he does. So not only is there no hope on the horizon for any kind of tariff deal for him and you, America, to make millions of dollars, so much money you'll trip over it, he was saying. He's saying, Americans are going to be so rich, they're going to be tripping over all the cash. The world has abandoned you. They've abandoned you when it comes to the economy. They've abandoned you when it comes to being a partner. They've abandoned you when it comes to security deals for this very reason and very reason alone. Everybody hates him. Every world leader not named Putin or Z hates him. And to your point, you're right. Nobody trusts him. And if there's one thing you need to do, if you're a country, you need to be somewhat financially and militarily predictable.
Yeah.
Because that's who you do business with. That's how you decide what side you're on. What can we predict that they're going to do? We'll join that guy because we can predict they're going to do these things. China's predictable, right? China wants to take over the world and make life miserable for everybody, but they're also really predictable when it comes to trade, what they'll give you, what they'll take away, and the fact that they won't just slap your hand, they'll just stop sending packages to your country like they did with the United States, where they shut down mail service to the United States of America. That was on the weekend.
Yeah.
Japan, same thing. They're like, you know what? We hate China. Vietnam, we hate China. Korea, we hate China. Canada, we don't hate China. We hate the Chinese Communist government and the authoritarian bent, but we know that we can count on them for X, Y, or Z. We know that we can no longer count on Donald Trump for any of those things. So, China, you get our oil if you're Canada. Or if you're Vietnam, you get our semiconductors. Or if you're Australia, you get whatever Australia, I don't know, a wallaby meat. You get that stuff. Same thing with Japan. Like, you've got countries that have purposely isolated, back from the Obama era, purposely isolated China, saying, now we have to do business with them. We don't have a choice. And that's how you know it's over. Donald Trump isn't just in trouble. He's got America standing on the precipice of death, economic death, and he's doing it on purpose.
And what's so interesting is China seems so ready for this moment. You know, they've built an integrated system where they're sort of tariff proof because they have such a big manufacturing sector there already. What we're seeing is a coordinated elevation of the biggest autocracy in the world in China into the world leadership by the world. And the world is willingly doing it because Donald Trump is such a jerk. You know, the world is busy sacrificing decades and decades of American dominance because Donald Trump is such a jerk, and China is just ready for every moment, and they're doing it. You know, this game, or this, I don't call it a game because it's not really a game, but this rollout of theirs around these tariffs has been very, very efficient and very successful. And also we're seeing countries like Vietnam joining BRICS. It's unthinkable a few months ago. It's unthinkable, and now it's happening. And the news gets worse from here. It doesn't get any better. But it certainly felt like that for Donald Trump in Mar-a-Lago this weekend and elsewhere. Really this will be our number one story. I'm calling it the Easter Shining and the Mar-a-Locos.
Oh, the rock band name. I like it. You're really crushing it today.
This is the number one story. And this is your story about these tirade of texts, of Truth Social posts, that came from Donald Trump this weekend that were just unbelievable.
Crazy.
Take us through what he said.
Yeah. You know, listen, nobody does a holiday greeting like Donald Trump, you know, like Merry Christmas, everybody. Fuck my enemies with an soldering iron, like that. Every Christmas, Halloween, he does it. You know, New Year's Eve, he does it when he was dude, even when he lost, you know, every holiday greeting was like, Merry Christmas to you and all my haters who can bleep the bleep and you suck and Joe Biden's this. And it's like his airing of grievances. So he started out pretty good on Easter Sunday, right? Yeah. He was down in Mar-a-Lago, actually Virginia, I believe. He was golfing and he was wearing this hat that said Gulf of America, GULF. It was the dumbest hat I've ever seen. And he's China. Like, and he's telling everybody, he goes, you know what? I'm going to play a little golf this morning. I'm going to go to church. Yeah. Never went to church, by the way. Didn't set foot in one because he'd probably combust. So his first post on Sunday morning, it was really nice. Melania and I would like to wish everyone a very happy Easter. Good start.
That's nice.
Whether you are heading out to church or watching service from home, may this day be full of peace and joy. For all who celebrate the resurrection of Jesus Christ, he is risen. That makes me laugh in itself anytime someone says it. But when that dotard says it, or, you know, he truly doesn't believe in any of that shit, these are just vehicles for him to maintain power. It's like, oh my God, he's pandering. It's the best.
It's such
But then about an hour later, he was like, you know what? I'm going to do another one.
Yeah.
Because he was getting his teeth kicked in this weekend over the Signal stuff.
So no, wait. The first one was at 8:40 a.m., right? The second one was 6 minutes later.
At 8:46.
Yeah, so something happened in those 6 minutes. So.
Yeah, you got it. Yeah, Donald Trump's True Social, 8:46 is the second one. The first one, Donald Trump's True Social, 8:40. So he has an epiphany in 6 minutes, and he's like, that was much too nice. I need to, I got to get some stuff off my chest. Let me read this to you. This is an Easter greeting.
So excited about this.
Happy Easter to all, including the radical left lunatics who are fighting and scheming so hard to bring murderers, drug lords, dangerous prisoners, and the mentally insane and well-known MS-13 gang members and wife beaters back into our country. Like, it really, really goes for it. They're like some of the worst shit. Happy Easter also to the weak and ineffective judges. Like, he's wishing these people happy Easter, and then he's crushing them. Happy Easter. Judges and law enforcement officials who are allowing this sinister attack on our nation to continue. An attack so violent, it'll never be forgotten. Sleepy Joe Biden purposely allowed millions of criminals enter. By the way, this is a happy Easter greeting. Millions of criminals in to enter our country, totally unvetted and unchecked, through an open borders policy that will go down in history as the single most calamitous act ever perpetrated upon America. He was by far our worst and most incompetent president. Analytically, he was one of the best. But anyway, we'll leave that on the side for now. A man who has absolutely no idea what he was doing, but to him and to the person that ran and manipulated the auto pen, perhaps real president, I don't know what that means, and to all the people who cheated the 2020 presidential election in order to get this highly destructive moron elected, I wish you, with great love, sincerity, and affection, a very happy Easter.
You know what?
I mean, you know, there are moments in this Trump regime. There are moments where you go, he's mentally ill. I get it. He's unwell. He's the dumbest MF on the planet. Mm-hmm. That guy just excoriated several people in a list of grievances that an old guy would have on the couch at his nursing home. And then at the end of it goes, I wish you with great love, sincerity, and affection a very happy Easter. That is pure sickness, and I fucking loved it.
Pure evil. I mean, contrast that with Pope Francis, which we started the show with, who was washing the feet of the peasants and the workers in the Vatican, and contrast that with this kind of notion of peace and love. The contrast couldn't be any starker. I mean, it's clear this man, he's evil to the bone. There's no other way to describe it. And he's, he has no noble. Firstly, the list of grievances here are ridiculous.
They're impressive.
Joe Biden was a great president. He did not allow millions of criminals into the country. It's just like none of this makes sense. I'm not going to try fact check it. Obviously, it's bullshit.
You know what? And there's no point. There's so many times you get caught up in trying to fact check that insanity. Yeah. But that insanity usually only comes out when he's having a really, 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 really bad weekend optically. Yeah. And he had another really bad weekend. And he had another terrible day today. The Dow was way down. Markets are way up. The dollar a week ago in Canada was $1.44. It's now $1.39. So they lost 5 cents against themselves. Mortgage rates are 7.5% in large parts of the country. Eggs, like last week, he was like, eggs have never been cheaper. As a matter of fact, we should raise prices. And everybody's like, what the fuck are you talking about? So he gets fact checked there. But these ones, like these crazy tweets, like the next one he put out after that, we are together going to make America bigger, better, stronger, wealthier, healthier, and more religious than it has ever been before. And he signs it in all caps. President Donald J. Trump, President of the United States of America.
So this was him realizing that the previous tweet was probably a little too far, and he had to pull back a little bit. So he comes out with this next one, which is like, oh, we're together in America, bigger, better, and stronger. Right, okay. Got it. So you got a memo. So then what happens? There's another one after that, right?
There is. Not content that he's already done looks crazy enough. He's losing the whole, I'm going to stop the war in Ukraine on day one. We're now like 3 months in.
Yeah.
And Russia and Ukraine haven't just resumed hostilities. I mean, it's going to get uglier before it gets better. You've got all these EU countries that are going to feed a ton of military equipment and billions into Ukraine. He expects to sign a deal with them, even though they won't. And so this is his way of trying to affect change with the war, with the invasion, the illegal invasion and the genocide of the Ukrainian people via Russia, who he supports. He's trying to get him to put the guns down so he can give him money. He's like, hopefully Russia and Ukraine will make a deal this week. Both will then start to do big business with the United States of America, which is thriving and making a fortune. They lost $11 trillion in the last 2 weeks. They're not thriving. No one's doing any business.
No one's doing business with the United States right now. I mean, that's the bottom line. No one's doing business. So this is just another, farce of a tweet, because there is nothing happening. There is no, Japan is not sitting at the table anymore. No other nation in the world is negotiating with Donald Trump, and the markets know this. That's why they're down 1,200 points today. The Dow is, and no one's coming to the table. It's not going to change. There's no. I don't think in 90 days from now we're going to 80 whatever days is not going to be. We're not going to find ourselves in a different situation. We're going to find ourselves in exactly the same situation without a deal, with the world coming after the American dollar, with people really suffering because they no longer have the jobs, they no longer have the manufacturing. You can't get it back once it's gone. You just don't get it back. You can't.
Did you
get
see some of those manufacturing numbers too? The last 40% of the manufacturing capability. Not only is the U.S. Brutal. And not only that, there's another post. I've got two up on my Substack. Blundell.substack.com. And it's truly amazing when you look at his collapse in approval rating. I think he's got like a 56% disapproval rating at this point, the most of any president in the history of the presidency in this period of time. Truckers have come out against him, who were largely voting for him. The demographics of people, the Hispanic community has basically left him because he's just deporting everybody, calling them all murderers, rapists, and MS-13 gang members. And his support hasn't just collapsed; it is absolutely underwater in the United States. And you're starting to see the people that did support him really pull back and decide that, you know what, maybe we were wrong. You don't hear lots of it, right? You don't hear a lot of people going.
You're beginning to hear it. There's columnists in the Washington Post and New York Times saying, you know, this is looking terrible. We need to revolt against this. I mean, in a way that you've never seen. I'll tell you what is up. Gold is up. And Bitcoin is up. Back to our story, our talk about crypto earlier on, up 12%. So crypto is beginning to creep up. Gold is up. Why? Because people are withdrawing from the US dollar. They're looking for the safe sanctuary. And believe it or not, crypto is safe. When the US dollar doesn't seem safe, Bitcoin seems safe, even though it's completely not.
Imagine that. Bitcoin and crypto are looked at as safer investments than Donald Trump's America.
And they're a Ponzi scheme, basically. They're a complete fraud.
Can you imagine that, dude? We live in that world right now where people are like, I don't know about this Bitcoin, but dude, the EU, the EU went up today significantly. Look, it's like a rocket ship. The Canadian dollar is way up, and they've tried to hammer us with tariffs. And the reason why is because no one trusts them, so the investors are trying to stick money anywhere they can where it's safe. And the other part is that Canada started to sell some U.S. Treasury bonds again, as with several other countries.
Everyone's selling them. It's a wise investment decision at this point. You're gonna, you want the risk on the table of losing all your money because the dollar's tanking. So you're gonna dump your U.S. dollars. Of course you are, because it's not looking good. I mean, we're 12 days into this. There's no tariff deals. The tariff pause continues, but there's still no deal. No Japan. Mexico stepped away from the table. There's incredible Fed uncertainty. He's threatening to fire James Powell at the Fed, and dollar is weakening every day. It's just dropping.
Huge
yields on bonds are rising all the time. This is not a good situation. China, our biggest competitor in the world, is isolating our partners, the people that we used to rely on for trade in the world, like the European Union. They're taking that market away from the United States. And we are still in the first, third of the year in his, is it third? It's first third of the year for his
Q1
for his presidency. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of crazy when you think about it. Like, there's still so much more to go, and he's
you got
ready.
You got 4 fucking full years of this.
There's only one thing that needs to happen now, and that's an impeachment. There needs to be an impeachment. I mean, it's not like there's one crime amongst all these people. There's so many crimes that it's just like there's just like a truck full of crimes, and people need to get behind this impeachment idea because, it's the one thing that can happen. And surely the Republicans that are standing in the next election must realize that their seats are going to disappear. They're not going to hold on to them at the rate that they're going. These town halls are clear indicators that people do not like this administration. They do not like the Donald Trump administration, and they're going to kick them out. They're going to kick every single one of these representatives out of office. So you can be scared of Donald Trump, or you can be really scared of what's going to happen with the voters in the midterms, because one way or another, this guy's going to get impeached. You got to believe it. I mean, these are just crimes every day.
Do you see the Wall Street Journal? I've got a report on this too on my Substack. Breaking: Canada is making Trump panic over presiding over another quote 1929. Yeah, in the Wall Street Journal did a great report. Insiders connected with Donald Trump say that he is literally running around the White House asking people that have like a decent understanding of what's going on in the world and what he's doing to the economy. He's like, hey, you know what? Do I keep going, or like, I don't want to be the next 1929 guy. He's not even calling
Yeah.
it the Great Depression, apparently, according to the Wall Street Journal. He's
He's
just
now
calling
realizing
it
that everything he's doing is he's going to cause a depression when that's the intention.
I just don't think he wants to say it. It's like,
Yeah.
am I going to be the guy? Am I going to be the guy? And so he's, he's out there, which is classic Trump, right?
Yeah.
He's out there going, yeah, we're going to make so much money. And the second he says it, he shuts the door, turns around. He's like, oh, are we in trouble? Or like,
Yeah,
what's happening here? I don't want to
absolutely.
be the 1929 guy. So, I mean, he knows what he's doing. He knows what he's doing, dude.
Everyone's saying, Steve McLeod here is saying, isn't the damage done? I mean, the damage is done. There's a lot of damage has been done,
Yeah.
but this is not, we're not there yet. I think there's lots of time to pull back. I think the world would still come back to America if it was restoring its, its true values. Certainly China is not a place you go to unless you have to go to China. So I suspect the world would come back, and don't think it's too late. But as I've said on this show before, there are weeks, not months, not years, just weeks left. In which the United States and the people of the United States, whether it's through the Congress or otherwise, can actually affect change and stop this from happening. I don't know if it will, but we'll see.
Dude, no. You go ahead and blow your nose. Do what you got to do.
I had to.
Did you just blow your nose? Is that what you did at the end of the
Well, I
show?
wiped it a little bit.
Oh, were you a little runny? Yeah,
a little runny. It happens sometimes,
You know what I hate? I hate that when you're doing a live show, but I also hate when you get a lot of people aren't going to be happy when I say this, a whistler or a flapper. You know what I mean? Or you got something like a bogey in the right quadrant, and it's like all you hear is whistling. So good for you. I'm glad you took care of it because nobody needed to hear the flapper whistle.
Nobody needs to hear that. So I appreciate it. And you would tell me. You would tell me if I had a whistler.
Probably not. I'm the guy that if you got something in your teeth, I don't say anything until we're done at the end of the evening. Yeah.
I thought you were my friend, man. Jeez.
I am your friend. I'm your friend. But just know that that's me too.
Feel free to tell me that anytime.
I might. You don't know.
You should check out my Substack. There's a really great series going on. We are exposing everything that Elon Musk is doing at Doge, this incredible surveillance machine that he's building. It's clear now that is exactly what's happening. This is a surveillance machine that the world has never seen, that'll track your every movement in real time and knows everything about you and can instantly tell the people who are searching that machine what you're doing in your life. It's kind of terrifying. You should read it. It's called The New Feudalism, and you can read it on narrative.org, narrative.org. You should also check out Dean Blundell's Substack.com for everything brilliant. I love your Substack. It's amazing.
Oh, buddy.
And it's just good. I check it out every day. Your Daily Dean, is that what it's called?
The Daily Dean Brief. Yeah, we summarize the top 5 stories from the day before.
Just call it the Daily Dean.
Just call it the Daily Dean?
Yeah, because
take the brief off. Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't need the brief, but the Daily Dean is just it's so good, and it's always got great information. It gives you the top 5 stories you need to know every morning. Sort of the text version of this show, and it's the next morning, so it's really useful. Everyone needs to sign up for that, and all your stuff about Canada and Carney has been fantastic. I mean, there's just great insight there.
Dude, Carney's on a heater, by the way. He's and listen, I'm going to bring it up again because these are my friends over at Polymarket. 77% chance of actually winning the office of the Prime Minister, which is great. Those odds keep going down, and not only that. We outed Pierre Poilievre's close relationship with those dickheads at Rebel News, which is like Breitbart only for assholes. Only for bigger assholes in Canada, like Ezra Levant. So please go there and check it out. You can also get a great deal. We're going to give you a lifetime membership for the price of an annual one, which is also discounted. Zev's got a deal, too, at the end of the month. He's got a big discount on his annual membership. We're doing that as a thank you because we've come out of the gate really happy with all of the support that we receive from Canadians and Americans, both sides of the border. And we do the show for you. So if you feel like subscribing, you don't need to pay. If you do, great. If not, we love all of the people that follow these shows that subscribe to us. You can also get it on Apple. So if you miss anything, if you go to Apple, you go to Spotify, you can get the FiveStack there. You can hear the audio version. You can watch it live here on Substack. It is a Substack exclusive. We will be paywalling this at some point. Don't want to, but I think that there's a point to this. It's to keep people, informed. You'll be able to hear it a day or two after the fact, but bottom line is that we'd love for you to be part of our community as we continue to grow and get to know each other and support each other. That includes you. That includes everybody that's in the chat right now, like Joanne. We got Steve was just in here. Jill. So many beautiful people and so much incredible support. It's our way of saying thank you. John, I thank you, sir. And again, I come back to this all the time. And when we started this, a couple of beleaguered dudes that are like, got to do something, right? And, the first show we had 20 people. Next show, we had 70 people. Next show, you get 100 people, and you're like, wow, there's 100 people listening.
Yeah.
The interest in democracy in North America and keeping these two countries together, keeping people apprised of what's happening in Canada, keeping the people apprised of what's going on in the United States, because you're not getting a lot of this information. You're getting it suppressed. Mainstream media doesn't give you this kind of stuff. It's our pleasure to do this with you and for you, and we're going to continue to do this on a daily basis. There are 700 people watching this now. So if you don't think the interest in, these two beautiful countries staying friends, staying allies, staying partners, being able to see around MAGA, being able to see around the rhetoric, being able to see around fake news outlets and the right-wing alt-right media machine. That's why we're here. We're both very centrist. We love facts. We have some fun with some conspiracy stuff like we did today with Kristi Noem. Do I know she was buying a bunch of cocaine with that $3,000 cash? No, but I wouldn't put it past her because she's in MAGA and they're all a bunch of drug addicts, right? So anyway, but my point is that we're so grateful for this. And I can tell just by the growth that we've seen in a very short period of time that you all appreciate having a place to go and get some information, have some fun, not be too afraid of what's going on, and just have a couple of guys to yak with for the next, hour or so on the daily. So thank you. Go and subscribe, free or paid, doesn't matter. We appreciate all your support, and we'll be here for you until we're not here for you anymore.
Nice. Dean, what would your rock band be called?
I don't know what my rock band would be called, but it's always been my dream to own a bar.
Yeah.
And I've always wanted to call that bar Spank the Monkey.
Spank the Monkey. All right.
And I'll tell you why.
You're going to go with the Blundells, but I like the Blundell sounds good to me.
No, and if I had a rock band, I would name it that, right?
Yeah.
And only because you can do so much with it. Like if I owned a bar, you could tell your friends where we're going. He was like, I'm going to go to Spank the Monkey, and and then everybody's like, what are you talking about? And then you could bring them with you. Do you want to come spank the monkey with me? And then we say yes. Because inside, I'm still 12. I'm still 12 years old.
Yeah, no,
I'll never change.
Never. Thank you for not changing. That is the show tonight. Thank you very much for being here on the FiveStack, which will be back tomorrow at 5:30. Thank you very, very much for being with us. And thanks for all your support. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye, everybody.